Hi everybody, this is Greg with Imbibe Digital, and this is going to be a quick and easy tutorial on how to use the HTML5 Input Color Picker. And I'll save the source files and code example in the comments below for your reference. So to begin with here, I've got a blank HTML document, and really to implement the Input Color Picker, it's pretty simple. You just create an input element and set the type to color. And it's as simple as that. And there's a bunch more we can do with this, and we'll go on to that here in a minute, but really just the base implementation of the color picker is just as simple as this. And if we take a look at this in our browser, I'll open up my Google Chrome browser here. I've got my color picker right here, this color picker element. If I click on it, it opens up Chrome's instance of a color picker. You can see if I click on any of these colors here or use this slider, it gives me the values of the color I've selected. So the RGB values, the HSL value, and the hex value. And that is pretty slick. But what we want to do is take this a step further and actually use these values, or this action of using the color picker, to change the color of elements on our page here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to change the background color of our web page here using the color picker. So I'll go back to my editor, and I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to paste in some other code here just for time's sake, but I'll walk you through what it is. Oops. There we go. That's the code I meant to paste. All right, so here's what I've done. I've created a div titled Color Controls. And you don't have to create this. This is just for a static value. I'm going to separate out my color controls, my color picker, from the body of the HTML document just so that it stands out better. I've created a label called Pick Your Color. And then this is the input element that we created, input type equals color. But I've added a couple of attributes. I've set a default value of FFF, which is we all know is white. And then I've added a unique ID of color change to it. You'll see why here in a minute. And then I've added this P element, and I put in some text, hex value with a span, and again an ID on that span of hex value, and you'll see why in a minute, as to what that hex value is. So now if we take a look at our document, and I hit refresh here, you can see the text that we just added in is now displayed. We've still got our color picker here, but if I click on it, nothing yet happens. So we're still just using the default functionality, the basic functionality of how a color picker works. And what we want to do again is we want to set that background color on the web page using the color picker, and we also want to print out whatever the hex value is of the color we've selected right here. It'd be a nice handy thing to do. So let's add in those two pieces, and to do that we're going to use JavaScript, and I will paste in some JavaScript here, right here, and I'll walk you through what this JavaScript does. So the JavaScript is the entirety of this right here, and I've created two variables. The first one titled color change, you can title it whatever you want. A second variable titled initial color, which just sets what the default initial color is. We've set that again to white. And this next bit of JavaScript here, we're adding an event listener on the window. This is the load event, and we are going to run the function change my color. So I've created a function and titled it change my color. And this is the entirety of the function right here. So the function title, everything between these two brackets. So we're calling that variable right here color change, and again we declare that variable up here. And we're saying what that variable is. So the color change equals the document.querySelector, the unique ID of color change, which is what we gave to this input. So we're basically saying that variable is this input element right here. And then we're going to set the value on that element. And the initial color that we've established is #FFF. So that's the default value. But then we're adding an important bit here: color change, add event listener, input update. And so this is a function update right here. And what this is going to do is it's going to, anytime we click on the color picker, it's going to pass those values in to this function right here. And it's going to do two things. So it's going to get the document.body.style.background color, and that's just dot notation in JavaScript for getting the background color of the body of the page, and equals the event.target.value. The event is clicking on the color picker, and the value is that hex value that it gets. And we're going to do that event.target.value. We're also going to set that against the document.getElementById hex value, which we've created right down here in this span. And we're going to set the inner HTML equals that same value, and we're just going to write it right in here. So anytime we select a color in there, it's going to overwrite the default value here of FFF, and it's going to print that new value directly on our web page. All right, so that's the code. And if I go back to Chrome here and I hit refresh, this time when I click on the color picker and I select a color like this red here, there it goes. So now we've got our background color that's changing as we're using the color picker. You can use a slider here. It's pretty slick. It's nice. I added in the Imbibe Digital logo. A little self-promotion. All right, so this is the Chrome implementation of the color picker, but let's also take a look at how Firefox does it. So we'll open up Firefox, and they do a little different. So when you click on this, it brings out this pop-out window. And these are the Mac OS X controls that it uses here. This might look a little different on Windows, but it gives you a variety of options. If you're an OS X user, this will look very familiar. And you can set these to be whatever you want. You can use this color crayon palette here. You can use this slider to find just the right shade you want. You even have this eyedropper color picker, which is pretty handy. And Safari does a very similar implementation. No big surprise there that they would use the Mac controls. Their default is to use this color palette right here, but if you click on these show colors, it'll also open up this the Mac OS X controls for the colors. All right, it's worth noting that, so we covered Safari, Firefox, Chrome. No big surprise, but the HTML5 Color Input Picker does not work in Internet Explorer. It does, however, work in Microsoft Edge, so that's good. But if you're on a Windows machine, not very many people are using Internet Explorer nowadays. I believe it's less than 1% of all web traffic now uses Internet Explorer, so it's very small. But again, I will drop the source code and link to our demo in the comments below. And I would love to hear what you're using a color picker for, what your project is, what issues you've run into, what questions you have. How would you like to take this further? And thanks for watching. Cheers.